Sino detatamo. Oh dearie me, Andy is going to senile about porn animes. Quick, gather around and start betting on how many liters of diarrhea will he pour onto it this time. Bonus money if the only reason for it is that it is a comedy anime, because heaven forbid people laugh in times like these. If you came here with these thoughts in mind, well, I have to disappoint you, dear listeners, because I actually liked these two animes. Gasp! But before you start heading into bunkers, hear me out, because these likes have so many asterisks that from space it looks like a weird allusion to Stonehenge. So, Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time is a short-format 13-episode fantasy comedy anime about the aforementioned Peter Grill winning the tournament for the strongest person in the world, and now every single race, and I quote, seeks the seed of the strongest warrior to continue their respective bloodlines, or in simpler terms, wants him to impregnate a bitch to create the next Superman. All while Peter himself just wants to date a girl so innocent and pure that I think she'll run away crying the second she'll even imagine a penis, and it's a fun premise, ultimately. Simple as well. Peter likes a girl, but he's also very horny, so he gets raped by women, and now he has to hide it or else his father-in-law will do something horrible to him. Straight to the point, and leaves enough room for imaginative scenes to be played just the way I like my comedies to be. And because of the theme, the show also gets to be erotic as well, though if you're watching the censored version, erotic is probably a slight exaggeration. In that case, the show is even funnier, because then it implies that in this fantasy world, women's naked body is basically a permanent source of light. But, well, the diarrhea tank is expensive to rent, so I'll have to use it in one way or another. For starters, the premise is simple, which means that it gets predictable very fast. Most of the show manages to straddle around it by being basically 3-4 normal length episodes stretched into 7, but after that, the joke about Peter's poor faith becomes a bit overdone, and you start to either just pity the bastard or be irritated that he's basically another spineless coward of a protagonist. In terms of harem, only 2 women are properly introduced, with the last one, the orc girl, just spawning near him with little if any exploration of her story and motivations for needing Peter's seed. All in all, starts strong for a comedy anime, peters out by the end. But it's stupid enough to get some enjoyment out of it, and it's short, so it doesn't require that much of a time investment. And speaking of time investment, The Titan's Bride is a yaoi isekai anime about a Japanese high school boy that gets transported into a kingdom of giants and gets wedlocked by a giant prince into being his bride. Then the show enacts the usual affair for these sorts of plots. The rich and influential masculine stereotype sets a certain date for the meek and feeble feminine stereotype in which one has to attract the other or release one from captivity, but he can't do anything without her permission, which translated from horny means I'm going to sexually assault you until the Stockholm Syndrome kicks in. The anime is 9 episodes long, each lasting for about 6 minutes, out of which 1 or 2 are dedicated to the end credits, in which the episode is going on fast forward, probably in case you were too busy masturbating to actually follow the story, and there's really nothing much to follow here. What I've said before pretty much covers it all. The main character, who dreams about girls and shit, eagerly starts to ride his husband's cock somewhere in episode 5, and it's here that I understood that the plot is pretty much of no value at all, because if you judge it purely by the story, it's incredibly rushed and lacks that sort of padding other shows like these tend to have. For actual sex perspective, I honestly wasn't impressed. I mean, they fuck alright, but the censorship in it makes it look pretty tame in comparison even to Peter Grill's, and downright Christian kid-friendly in comparison to regular hentai, where the woman's vagina would have probably gotten rendered at every possible angle, including the insides. It's one of those animes that I honestly recommend to cut and turn into a feature-length episode, because even though it's short, I feel I would make a disservice to my audience in recommending it, even as a fat material. I do think that the story has potential in an ancient Magus Bride sort of way, but as it is just mediocre yaoi porn. Well, at least now the mandatory penis inspections are over.